Hi everybody. I have been receiving a lot of questions about how to avoid the court system from taking over the life of a family member with Alzheimer's and dementia. And to this, a lot of questions about what family members should do if there is suspicion that a loved one has memory loss. Do you let this go until it gets worse and then deal with it then? Should you do something now? And especially, what if the person with memory loss is in denial about having memory loss and they don't want to go see a doctor, or they don't want to even admit that there's anything going on? There are some situations, honestly, where as much as you might want to help the person with memory loss, if they don't understand the implications of the memory loss, if the memory loss has gone beyond that, then honestly, you probably are in a situation where you may need to direct the court to do what you want versus being contacted by the court and have them direct what they want. Because the idea of court intervention for people with memory loss and Alzheimer's and dementia and cognitive impairments really does go two ways. And more than often, it goes the way of the court. When family members and friends are doing good things to help somebody with memory loss, but they don't realize the longer term implications, and then other people have to get involved. So if you suspect anyone you know has memory loss, the kindest and best thing that you can do is talk to them about going to a doctor to get a diagnosis, either through a primary care physician, a geriatrician, a neurologist, a neuropsychologist. And know that these specialists can take a couple of months to get into. Some may be backed out 3 to 6 months. And during that 3 to 6 months while you're waiting, this memory loss can progress. So there is kind of a time factor here about taking action and not waiting too long to take action. So stay with me while I dig into this subject and give you some examples of why it's important to be proactive in any situation of memory loss so that you can be on the right side of the court system versus the other side of the court system. If this is your first time on my channel, I'm Pamela D Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. I help older adults and their caregivers work through health, financial, legal aspects, family relationships, everything to do with care. You can learn more about me and my professional experience by going below this video and clicking on links to my website, my bio, one-on-one consultations, and a lot more other information. Please do like this video, follow my channel, share these videos, and comment, even if it's only to say, hey, thanks for the video. One thank you makes a big difference in helping people all over the world find these videos. So let me share some experiences of when I was a care manager and there was a suspicion of a client having memory loss. My first recommendation to my client was always, if something was wrong, wouldn't you want to know what it was? Because sometimes with memory loss, it may not be memory loss. It could be a medication that's causing mental confusion and a person to act in a different manner, because medications do have a lot of side effects, especially for older people. And then I would say, well, if you don't know what you're dealing with, how can you possibly plan? So when we think about memory loss or really any health condition, it's good to have a plan for care, right? Are you going to take medications? Will you exercise or eat a better diet? What will you do to manage this condition so it doesn't get significantly worse? So why don't we go get a diagnosis? Wouldn't you rather know than not know? Wouldn't you rather have a plan? Now, honestly, some people, they don't want to know. They don't want to plan. They've never been planners. They don't want to do that. That can make it a little more difficult and put your family in a situation where if you don't do something, then the court may come in and compel or force you to do something. Now, when I say the court system, I mean Adult Protective Services and the police who investigate elder abuse or elder neglect. So maybe a neighbor calls on your mom and dad and says, you know, I have this neighbor, he or she has memory loss. I'm not sure they should be living alone. The kids never show up and visit. Can you do an investigation? Well, this is how these incidences of memory loss get into the probate court system. And then the probate court system, if they find reasonable cause or reasonable suspicion, then they have to do something because that's the ethical thing to do. So you can get a very ethical, loving, kind guardian who can take care of your family member through the court system. You can also get some who are not as ethical and not as loving and not as kind. So again, it's better if you control the court system and probate if guardianship and conservatorship is necessary versus not doing anything and then being forced into this situation. And sometimes, honestly, that happens because of a lack of knowledge and experience. Now, I have experience with this because I did serve as a court-appointed guardian and conservator for elderly clients. But my clients, in some cases, were being proactive. They knew they had memory loss. They wanted to appoint a guardian and a conservator today to work with them while they still could make decisions, and then to have that person make decisions when they could no longer make decisions. That's the proactive side of guardianship and conservatorship. Now, I will say that sometimes the more frequent occurrence was when a person living alone, maybe divorced or widowed or never married, got memory loss. And they didn't realize they were having memory loss problems, and maybe they got into a car accident or a neighbor called or something. And the police and Adult Protective Services got involved. Or maybe in these cases, APS and the police got involved and the family's like, oh, we don't want to be in that role. We agree with you appointing a professional. So again, it happens two different ways. And honestly, there are as many good and happy and joyful stories about conservatorship and guardianship as there are not so good stories. So I want to balance this video with the good and the bad, right? Now, a lot of family members that contact me where these situations have gone way too far are family members who feel that their rights have been taken away by the court system and there's nothing that they can do. Well, there's always something that you can do. But the challenge is you have to know what to do and how to go about it because the legal system is the legal system and they have rules and regulations that most consumers don't know about. So back to the beginning. If you're proactive in the early stages of memory loss, you have more choices over what happens if legal action needs to be taken. So let's look at what happens when family planning doesn't happen and individuals and families don't understand how guardianship and conservatorship works in the court system. In some cases, a loved one living alone, again, may be reported by neighbors or someone at the bank or something. APS and the police do an investigation and they either confirm and say, oh, you know, this person does need a lot of help. Well, the first people they're going to contact is the family. So you as the family would be best served by cooperating and learning how that process works and determining if you want to be that guardian or conservator. Now, sometimes a neighbor or somebody else may be involved, and they may be a good person or a bad person. If the court is going to hold a hearing, family members are considered interested parties and you should be advised. Now, I have many family members that contact me and say, you know what, there was a court hearing and nobody told us anything. Well, that is wrong. You can object to that, okay? But again, sometimes family members don't because they're worried about going into court and representing themselves because maybe they don't know how to do it or they're afraid of the court system or they're afraid of attorneys. Not everyone is comfortable working in the legal realm. Or maybe the family member has no money to pay an attorney to represent them to do these things. So this is kind of where the court system can get really lopsided because Adult Protective Services and the police over here are funded by the government and the court system is funded by the government. So it can appear to people that the government has a lot of control over people's lives, especially in situations where family members don't have the financial means or the experience to go against what is seen as the government, right? And so, in my opinion, the government should also have to fund help for families in these conservatorship and guardianship cases and provide information more than just, hey, there's a window at the probate court and they can give you the forms. It's kind of a lopsided system right now. So a lot of family members, again, they're like, oh, Pamela, the court system is taken over. They're just, rolling over us. We feel like we can have no rights and no say. You can have rights and say. You can go in front of the judge and speak to your concerns and everything that you feel that's going on. Where this can get a little uncomfortable is if there's a lot of accusations of, well, family members never showed up, or maybe there was some financial abuse. If you're on the other side of this, it's up to you to give facts and to prove that whatever this side is saying is not true. It's not accurate. So again, this is where family members get really uncomfortable. Now imagine if you were this person. You are 80 or 90 years old, and you've got some memory loss, you're forgetful, and you know you're forgetful. And your family wants to help you, but because of all this technical legal language and all this wording that nobody understands, your family's saying, we don't know what we can do. And then a hearing happens and your family still hasn't said anything, or maybe there's language barriers. Maybe your first language is Spanish or Russian or something else, and you don't understand what the court system is saying. This is exactly the reason you have to get involved. Because if you don't get involved and you wait and this process goes toward the middle or toward the end, it's going to be really hard to reverse this and advocate for your loved one. Now, I will say that there are perceived issues surrounding lack of self-care or abuse, because many times most of the court cases that do make it into the court system, there is someone who has proven to abuse somebody or done the wrong thing. And so, the court system sees so much abuse that they might think that a really good family member or a friend falls into that category of abuse. So again, this is where you have to say, no, that fact is wrong. I didn't steal. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. And here's facts to prove this. So as a family member, I know I get so many emails from you all. This can be difficult. It can be stressful. You can lose a lot of sleep over this, because working with the attorneys in the court system can be really intimidating for the average person who doesn't know how the system works. If you think of most people who have maybe a high school education or a little more, and then you have these attorneys and legal people who have really advanced educations, you've got this gap in not only conversational skills, but in how to explain things and all of that. And because of that, a lot of family members they run, they don't do anything. And then they become angry later because they feel like the court system took advantage of their loved ones. So if you're in that situation, I really encourage you, first of all, family member with memory loss, make plans, make medical, financial, legal plans so that you don't end up into the court system. If you've already ended up into the court system, find a way to advocate or hire an attorney or hire an advocate who can help you understand the process so that it doesn't go really beyond what you want. Because it is a difficult situation. And while the court system I know can be intimidating, again, don't give up, don't lose hope. Find ways to advocate for your loved ones before the court proceedings are finalized, before it goes so far that it will be very, very difficult to reverse what has been done. There is a lot of information on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, about power of attorney, medical and financial, about guardianship, about conservatorship. There are a lot of videos here on my YouTube channel about this. So if you go into the little search bar and you type in power of attorney or guardianship or conservatorship, videos will come up. Again, I thank you all so much for being here. Again, please like this video, follow my channel, comment, even if it's only to say thanks, and definitely come back again soon to see another video.